We're okay. Pee your pants?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
It looks like Roland Emmerich, the German filmmaker behind Independence Day, isn't done with aliens and explosions just yet, because he's now teasing an idea for Independence Day 3. And that's not all. He's even addressed the big question fans have been wondering for years. Could Will Smith actually come back if the franchise continues? So let's break down everything that's going on with the potential third film and where things might head from there. According to Emmerich himself, he has a new concept in mind for another sequel. It's surprising because after Independence Day Resurgence hit theaters in 2016 and flopped both critically and commercially, it seemed like that ship had sailed. The second movie was meant to revive the franchise and set up an even bigger intergalactic journey for the next one. But when audiences didn't bite, it felt like Independence Day 3 was dead in the water. Critics bashed Resurgence for being flat and predictable, and producer Dean Devlin even admitted afterward that he had no plans to continue. Emmerich himself later confessed that the project fell apart after Will Smith dropped out. He even said he probably should have stopped making Resurgence altogether once Smith left, a rare bit of honesty for a director known for blowing up landmarks on screen, not admitting defeat off it. It's easy to see why the loss of Will Smith hit the franchise so hard. The original Independence Day, released back in 1996, was a massive hit and turned Smith into a bona fide global star. Alongside Jeff Goldblum and Bill Pullman, Smith helped make that movie a cultural phenomenon. It was a perfect mix of cheesy 90s patriotism, sci-fi spectacle, and that classic underdog story where humanity fights back and wins. The movie looked incredible for its time, and audiences loved every second of it. With a budget of just $75 million, it raked in over $817 million worldwide. Not bad for a story about aliens blowing up the White House. But Resurgence, which picked up 20 years later, never came close to that magic. The film tried to show humanity thriving with alien tech and building defenses against future invasions, but its plot ended up tangled and oddly lifeless. The script wrote off Smith's character, Captain Stephen Hiller, by saying he died in an accident between films, and that off-screen death didn't sit well with fans. Without Smith's charisma to anchor the movie, Resurgence struggled to find its emotional core. Critics pointed out its lack of character depth, while audiences just didn't connect with it the same way they had with the original. Still, time seems to heal all cinematic wounds, because Emmerich is once again talking about Independence Day 3. In an interview promoting his 2019 war film Midway, he was asked whether he'd be interested in doing another Independence Day now that Disney owns 20th Century Fox. Surprisingly, he said he actually had a great idea for a sequel. It's a huge turnaround for someone who once said he hated making sequels. But maybe the years have softened him a bit, or maybe he just can't resist giving this story another shot. The tricky part, of course, is whether Disney would even go for it. The studio has been cautious with older Fox franchises, rebooting only those they see as truly valuable. And although Independence Day was a 90s blockbuster legend, the sequel's failure definitely left a mark. Still, Emmerich seems to believe there's untapped potential in this universe. One of the biggest gaps in Resurgence was the absence of Will Smith, and if Emmerich really wants to revive the series, bringing Smith back could be the smartest move, even if that means rewriting history a little. He could show what really happened to Hiller, or pull a sci-fi twist where the character somehow survived. It's a stretch, but this franchise has never exactly shied away from wild ideas. When asked recently if he might reunite with Smith for Independence Day 3, Emmerich sounded doubtful but not completely dismissive. He reminded fans that Smith's character technically died, but he also hinted that Disney now controls the rights and would ultimately decide whether the film happens. He even joked that the situation is complicated because Disney never finalized his original deal, which makes it harder to move forward. Still, it doesn't sound like he's ready to give up. If we look back, it's easy to understand why Resurgence didn't inspire much confidence in a sequel. The first Independence Day was one of the biggest hits of the 1990s, the kind of event movie that everyone talked about. Its iconic imagery, like the White House explosion, is still one of the most recognizable moments in movie history. But Resurgence, even though it brought Emmerich and Jeff Goldblum back, just didn't leave an impact. Rotten Tomatoes scores tell the story. The first movie sits at 68%, with audiences giving it 75%, while the sequel languishes at 29% from critics and barely 30% from viewers. It made less than half the box office of the original, pulling in about $389 million worldwide, and that's with modern ticket prices. For many fans, those numbers are proof that Independence Day 3 shouldn't happen. But Emmerich originally had a much bigger plan for the series that would have taken humanity's fight far beyond Earth. In Resurgence, we saw glimpses of this with the introduction of the mysterious alien AI called the Sphere, which revealed that countless species across the galaxy had fallen victim to the Harvesters, the same aliens who attacked Earth. The Sphere offered humanity a chance to join a galactic resistance and take the fight directly to the Harvesters' homeworld. That setup clearly pointed toward Independence Day 3 being an interstellar adventure, something that could have expanded the entire franchise into a full-blown sci-fi saga. Emmerich's idea was for Independence Day 3 to take place a year or two after Resurgence, following characters like Jake Morrison, played by Liam Hemsworth, Dylan Hiller, Jesse Usher, Patricia Whitmore, Maika Monroe, and of course David Levinson, Jeff Goldblum. Together, they would have teamed up with alien allies and headed into deep space to launch a counterattack against the Harvesters. It would have been a huge, visually ambitious film, probably the kind of intergalactic war movie Emmerich always wanted to make. Unfortunately, the disappointing response to Resurgence froze that dream in place. Now, almost a decade later, reviving that exact storyline might not work the same way. Too much time has passed, and audiences have moved on. So if Emmerich really wants Independence Day 3 to happen, he'd probably have to rethink the story, maybe focus more on a new generation or a smaller, more personal narrative before jumping into another galaxy-sized war. But there's one interesting twist to all this. Emmerich recently mentioned that he'd love to make ID3 specifically for Disney+. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.